Hello and welcome to Access Sportsnet Lakers. I'm Allie Clifton. Joining me is our Lakers insider, Mike Bresnahan, and national NBA writer for USA Today. His name is Mark Medina. Mark, good to see you.
Allie, Mike, good to see you guys. I mean, I felt like yesterday was last season, but here we are.
How many books behind you have you read?
Allie, I've read a lot of them. Behind me, there's a lot of Laker books. There's a lot of NBA books. Hey, I gotta come on the show and bring some facts. So I gotta do my research ahead of time.
Looks like a green screen to me, Mark. Are you sure that that's actual books for the bookshelf? I just want to be sure.
I can confirm there's some actual books. If you need proof, here's a Laker.
We did need it. If you would have heard the guys in our ear, we did need that proof.
Oh, wow.
I love it.
There you go. There's the evidence.
I love it. You might need to send me some pictures. I would take a look at some of those books. I'm into reading these days.
Yeah, there you go.
For now, we got a lot to read here for this show. Mark, good to see you. Brez as well. Let's dive in. Training camp for the champs. It has begun in El Segundo. LeBron and AD both inked deals that will keep them together with the Lake Show for at least the next 3 seasons. After practice, LBJ, the reigning Finals MVP, discussed what he and the Brow locking in long-term means for the franchise.
Well, what it means that we're here and we're committed to this franchise. We're going to give everything that we got to this franchise. That's what it's all about. And the Lakers believe in us, and they rewarded us with those contracts, and we just try to go out there and earn them every day. Both on the floor and off the floor, try to make an impact not only at what we do on the floor, but also make an impact off the floor and how we carry ourselves as men as well. So, it's a great partnership.
Hey, LeBron. So this will take you into pretty rarefied air. This contract, 20 years in the league. Have you thought about what the future could look beyond that in terms of how long you'll want to stick around?
No, I haven't. I don't know how long I'm gonna stick around this game. I never take for granted every time I get an opportunity to play another season. I try to prepare my mind and my body and my spirit, for a season and see where it takes me. Like you said, at the end of this contract, I'll be in year 20. The best thing about it is that the year I'll be a free agent will be the same year my oldest son graduates high school. So I'll have some options to see.
Anthony Davis was obviously so great last season. I just want to get your thoughts on some of your expectations for him this upcoming year and how you think he even steps up his game even more from what he's already accomplished.
I don't have any expectations for Anthony Davis. I mean, listen, I know what he's about. I know what he's capable of. And I know what he brings to the game. He's special. He's one of the best players in the world, and his talent is what he's able to do at his size. There's not many people in the world that's ever been able to do that in this sport, period. So, but I don't have any expectations on him. He's going to go out and be himself, and he's going to do things not only that we've seen before, it's going to be some things that we haven't seen before, but it's going to be on both sides of the floor. So. But there's no expectations for me.
All right, so let's start. LeBron and AD, their commitment to the Lakers and vice versa. No denying how big time that was, guys. Mark, we haven't got your reaction just yet on those two and their commitment to the franchise. What did you think when you saw that?
I think it was a pleasant surprise for 2 reasons. One, LeBron James didn't have to make this decision about an extension. He could have waited another year. Number 2, with Anthony Davis, there was a feeling initially going to free agency. Maybe he has a shorter deal because of the uncertainty of what the cap would look like because of the pandemic. But this is very pleasant news for obvious reasons. And so not only does it cement them being the obvious favorite for next season, which would have happened anyway, but this sets the Lakers up, I think, to be the next dynasty. When you're looking at the last dynasty of the NBA, the Warriors, they won 3 NBA championships in 5 finals appearances. I think that the Lakers are fully equipped to be able to not only to repeat this season, but extend that finals run even further.
Well, Mark, predicting a possible dynasty, and you're kind of right. I'm still kind of surprised that both those guys signed for the term that they did. I mean, no one saw the LeBron extension coming, except for probably LeBron and his agent, maybe the Lakers too, but to have him in the fold for 3 more years, and then you add the max 5 years for Anthony Davis, I was thinking 2 years, maybe 3. He went the whole distance. I mean, what a testimony to this franchise. Both those guys said, you know what, we're happy here. We're going to stay here for quite some time.
I mean, I think both of you kind of just touched on it when you talk about the dynasty, but at the start of last season, before they even put on a jersey together, we called them the best duo in the league, and they certainly, I feel, played the part. Can they be even better, and what does that look like in your mind for the two of them, Mark?
I think they can be better because they have their second year. They already have the familiarity. I think to the credit of Lakers GM Rob Pelinka, I think on paper there's a better roster when you're looking at the amount of depth that they're able to build with not just youth, but a lot of really good front court pieces. But the reality is the Lakers are coming off a short turnaround. Their season had only ended in mid-October. And when you are a defending NBA championship team, you're always getting everyone's best shot. So when you put that into a very unconventional season where it's compressed, there's a lot of challenges on and off the court, nothing's guaranteed. But I think the Lakers have both the talent and maturity to navigate all those potential pitfalls.
Yeah, you know, here's what I like about those two guys coming into this season. They don't have to be the guys every single night. So I don't know if their numbers will be better per se. Is LeBron going to lead the league in assists? Is AD going to be amazing in rebounds and points? Not necessarily, because they picked up two guys in Montrezl Harrell and, of course, Dennis Schroeder, who each averaged 19 points last season. It's going to take a ton of pressure off of guys like LeBron and AD. So I think they could be more efficient, maybe get to know each other a little bit more. Don't know if we'll see the big numbers, but it might translate more to the wins, adding two guys to kind of take the pressure off the big two a little bit.
And you know, when taking pressure off of individual matters most, not as much with AD because he's 27 in his prime. How about that guy named LeBron, who's about to be 36 going into season 18, but he's not slowing down. Check this out. LeBron James is entering his 18th NBA season. So you know he's logged a lot of minutes. If you combine regular and postseason minutes, he is number 3 all time in total minutes played. So, how you feeling, Bron?
Physically, you know, that's gonna, I mean, right now I'm sore as hell. We day 2 of training camp. So that's been my whole career, pretty much except probably like year 1 and year 2 when I was 18 and 19. Super sore, but nothing. I don't have anything that's stopping me from being on the floor, doing 5-on-5, doing 4-on-4, doing any drills, things of that nature. So good in that sense. And then from mentally, I'm great. I mean, I'm healthy. My family's healthy. You know, I'm great mentally. So I'm in a really good place in my life. So I'm solid.
Have you and LeBron started having conversations yet about his load early on and how much you guys are going to lean on him early, knowing it's a long season, knowing that you now have him for 3 years through his 20th season, like how that all might factor into those decisions?
Yeah, we have had sort of preliminary conversations about that. And, you know, we're both sort of the mindset, like, let's just see how it plays out, you know, and evaluate each day, each week, how he's feeling, and not lock into any set plan, but, you know, to have a sort of a normal build-up of getting his legs back under him, you know, get him used to playing live basketball again, and, you know, just evaluate where he's at, you know, on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis before we make those decisions about the management plan of how much he's going to participate early in the season versus late in the season. You know, all those types of things. It's really just kind of be a day-to-day approach.
One thing we know when it comes to LeBron James, communication, that open line of communication between he and the coach is very important. And Frank Vogel noting right there that they've already had some early discussions about his playing time. That load management, what are we anticipating, Mark, that looking like for King James this season?
I think the Lakers and LeBron are really going to try to thread the needle. Look, they're not going to go the Clippers route like they did last season where they're just going to preemptively sit LeBron for the sake of doing it, but they're also not going to run him into the ground. So I think it just depends on how he's feeling health-wise. And then also looking at the schedule, where can they afford to shave off minutes on this certain back-to-back? How is the game going in particular? And so I think with that, really the onus is on LeBron of trying to take care of his body as much as he can, but also on Anthony Davis and some of his other teammates to try to make life easier for LeBron James. And I think, especially because of the short turnaround, one of the themes to open this season is who can carry that mantle, whether it's a combination of Anthony Davis and some of his teammates or AD himself, so that LeBron doesn't have to use up all his energy right off the gate.
I'll tell you what, Mark, it feels like the offseason has lasted about 27 minutes. I mean, I need to be load managed, and I didn't even play in these games this past season. Yeah, for sure. If you listen to what Frank Vogel and Rob Pelinka have been saying over the past few weeks, Frank basically said, yeah, you don't have to expect too much of LeBron in the preseason. And Rob Pelinka is saying, we're going to be in constant contact with LeBron and his representatives. You know, how's he feeling? How's he doing? Is he okay with the playing time we're giving him, the number of games we're giving him? And, of course, you're going to listen to the guy. Like you said, Ali, he's 36 in just a couple short weeks here. And he came off a really, really strong season, X's and O's on offense and defense. So AD might slip into the load management talk a little bit, but it's more about LeBron since he is almost 10 years older than Anthony Davis.
Guys, I think another element to this that we also need to take into account is it's not the exact same roster from a season ago. And to a guy like LeBron James, chemistry and camaraderie matters. And it's not just talking about it, but it's actually going out and playing that through. So, Mark, I think that's going to be a big factor in this as well. No matter how much those new faces, Montrezl Harrell and Dennis Schroeder, can handle a load like that in terms of scoring, you still need that time on the court together.
Great point, Allie. And I think that's one of the things that LeBron is very aware of, that he wants to accelerate that chemistry. And he also wants to set an example as a guy that's doing the work to create really good habits up and down the roster. And when you compare that, again, to the Clippers, it's obviously a different situation with Kawhi Leonard's injuries and Paul George's injuries, but they had a lack of chemistry. And I think because of that, they were always playing catch up. I think ideally the Lakers can maybe find ways for LeBron to rest once the initial wave of the first few weeks of the season start, because then they will have that foundation and then they can prepare some of these guys for bigger roles. And then that could lead them to feeling more ready for when the big moments come in the playoffs.
Yeah, there is little doubt that LeBron will play in the opener on the 22nd, of course, Christmas on the 25th. But they have a back-to-back on the 27th, 28th, as he played both those games. He'll probably play New Year's Day. And then maybe we'll see what happens. We'll be about 2 weeks into the season. Does he start to, kind of lateral a couple games here and there and say, you know what, we're okay. We're off to, say, like a 6-1 start. I'll sit out a game against whomever. They have a bunch against San Antonio. Not really supposed to be a playoff team. A couple against OKC in January. Not expecting much there either. It's going to be fascinating to see who's in and who's out on a nightly basis. But as you pointed out, you want to get your new guys on the same page as guys like LeBron and AD. So you want to kind of make sure LeBron's getting his rest, but also getting to know his new teammates as well.
The other thing, too, it's no better time right now than taking it day by day, because we are still currently living in a pandemic.
Yeah, you got
so
that
we
right.
also don't know what that will look like either. Chris Haynes of Yahoo Sports tweeted the NBA implementing new resting policy for 2020-2021 season, with teams prohibited from resting healthy players for any high-profile nationally televised game, and violation could result in a fine of at least $100,000. Mark, were you surprised by that at all?
Allie, not necessarily. I know the NBA had implemented a similar rule in 2017. So from my understanding, this was more of an updated version. But I think when you're looking at the business end of the NBA, what's very interesting is there's no longer the fan component of, people spending a lot of money to see this star player play in a road game or in a home venue. But there is the TV ratings component and the fact that that's a huge source of revenue for the league. So it's still, a really tough balancing act on how do you measure the league's financial bottom line interests and what might be best health-wise for each team and an individual player.
Yeah, these are very specific rules. You can't rest a guy on the road necessarily. So you want that team's local TV rights to be honored. You can't rest two star players at the same time. It's $100,000. So there's a lot of specific stuff in there for all these new rules. I thought the NBA would be a little more lax, especially towards teams that, just stopped playing in October. But no, they're charging full steam ahead, saying, look, the revenues have to keep coming. It's going to be mostly TV rights. You've got to keep the big names as well as the local TV broadcasters happy throughout the season.
That goes for you as well. I know you just talked about load managing. AJ said it's a $100,000 fine for us. Get it together. Get that fine right.
I will be here for every game then.
Here we go. Still to come. LeBron James is done.